Welcome to The Business Behind Your Business, the podcast where we delve into the financial strategies and insights that drive success for small and medium-sized business owners. I'm your host, Paul Sweeney, and in each episode we bring you expert guests who share practical advice, real-world experiences, and actionable tips to empower you on your business journey. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, get ready to uncover the secrets to success and gain valuable insights into the business behind your business. Okay, so changes hit and suddenly everything begins to feel urgent and the list grows, the noise grows, clarity is what disappears first. And that's why it hurts. So you're trying to be clear, you're trying to focus, but you don't have that clarity. And when that changes, the week feels lighter, decisions come faster, progress sticks. We're going to unpack today how important it is to have small, repeatable practices to restore the clarity in your business, protect your energy, and turn effort into momentum that you can maintain. I'm really excited today because we're going to talk about some really practical steps to help you get away from the pain and the overwhelm that you're facing as a business owner. Small steps, they sound simple and we often overlook them and think, well, hang on, that's too simple. But the solution is often the simple one that we need to hear. And the small steps, they're often the hardest ones because to keep going when things get busy, we often drop them. So today is about what makes them work in real life. And I'm absolutely thrilled because we have today an absolute legend for you here because I'm really excited. Our guest today is Dr Christiane Schroeter, and she has been helping professionals build clarity, confidence, momentum, all changes in leadership. Look, she's a TEDx speaker, leadership strategist, professor, best-selling author, but best of all, her work is practical. It's small steps, real progress, no burnout. And she's also the creator of the Petite Practice framework, which is a simple, repeatable system designed to turn small actions into lasting momentum. You can tell I'm excited about today's conversation, and there's a lot of reasons why, because I'm seeing business owners burnt out, overwhelmed, confused, frustrated. Look, we've got the solution for you today. Dr. Christiane, it's great to have you here. As I mentioned, I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Welcome to The Business Behind Your Business.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. Really thrilled. Audience is going to be a good one. So you can take a notepad or go back and re-listen to this amazing episode because we're certainly going to create some cool takeaways for you here today.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, as always, listen, the beauty of podcasts, you can go back and re-listen and do that. I will say that if you're driving a car, don't pull out the notepad just yet. Pull over or come back and re-listen to it. We don't want any accidents, but buckle up. You're in for a real treat today, something really practical to help us move forward. Because, look, you are motivated as a business owner, but there is something quite wrong in the way that we're operating. Something is really missing, and sometimes it's the simple things. So, Dr. Christiane, when someone tells you that they need more motivation or discipline, what's the real problem they're asking about?
Well, I think you don't even need to necessarily be disciplined to start working. I think it's sometimes just that you need to kind of deflate the goal that you're really going for. So if you think like your goals are like hanging out there in the cloud, it just seems like impossible to even get there. And the way that I sometimes compare it is like I live in California and we have these really cool buses. You have this public transit, right, in California. And so sometimes you are at a bus stop and to enter the bus, you kind of have to take this big step to get into the bus. Or maybe even there's a curb and you have to take like a big gap between your sidewalk and getting into the bus. So imagine the bus is like your goal. So in California, what these buses do is actually they have this little hydraulic mechanism where they just kind of like deflate and then lower it down to make the entrance level even with your curb. So they do and then just lowers down. And it's just brilliant. So think about this being your goal. The reason why you're overwhelmed is just because your goal is so big and it's so inflated that all what you got to do is just start deflating it, start shrinking your goal down a little bit and start really practically thinking, how can I take that first step? How can I make my first step level with where I'm at today so that I'm actually quite comfortable getting on my bus or on my very first little transformation towards reaching the goal, because you will get there. The main thing is just you have to shrink it down. You have to think a little bit like, I'm going to do something today. So what is it that I could do today to make my goal become a little bit more approachable?
So it sounds to me like, okay, so one of the first things you're mentioning there is you've got this big goal, but you're making it easier to actually get started in that step. And I think I see a lot of overwhelm from business owners. They set these massive goals because we're told that, we've got to have the big, hairy, audacious goals. And I think we set too big a goal. But I like to think going back to Jeffrey Allen in terms of the getting things done and the
Mm-hmm.
big project. We often don't do the big project because really that big project is 13 different smaller projects, and we lump it all into one. And that's why we look at it and go, oh, that's too big. I don't have the energy for this. I'll put that off. But if we broke it down into smaller steps, or at least made that first step more achievable, we can get started.
Completely. And I always say to people that start working with me, you actually have to kind of like combine an action with your goal. So it needs to be an action-oriented goal. It cannot just be like a goal that is just like a certain status-oriented goal, right? So remember what we talked about with the bus. So your action will be you're going to take a step and you're going to take a bus, and then the bus starts leading you somewhere, hopefully to a destination that you wanted to go to. Now in your business, you're feeling overwhelmed because maybe your goal is just writing a book, starting a podcast, or anything like that. So, hey, that's great. But sometimes I ask people, like, why do you actually want to do this? Like, I mean, what's the motivation behind it? What's your why? And I know that's like, people are like, well, I just always thought of writing a book. And then I'm like, okay. And I keep digging down a little bit. It's like, for you personally, what would it mean to see that book on a shelf? And I really want to feel the emotion behind it, because I think that once you feel you're personally invested in it, there is a little bit of peace in you to you feeling accountable in actually making this happen. You want to make this happen. And I think that sometimes as an entrepreneur, we just feel, oh, we just have to do it to make money. And it's like, so who cares about all that? I really want to peel it back to the layers of like your interior. Like, would you regret not doing this? And if you say yes, then we have something. If you say, nah, it's kind of like, well, of course you're not motivated because there's no stake in it, right? You feel overwhelmed because you feel like the world tells you need to start a podcast. But if you don't personally feel you need to do it, then just don't do it, right?
Yeah, I love the way you mentioned that. And you're tying in actions with goals.
Yes.
But the precept to there, which I'm picking up on, is that you mentioned, well, what's the reason why? What's your reason why you have this goal? Because if you don't have a valid reason for it, if it's just a response that, like you said, the world's telling everybody to start a podcast, that's not a great reason. But if the podcast is perhaps going to say, well, hang on, it's going to be a way for me to demonstrate my expertise to my particular clients, I'm going to share that with them, get in front of them, they will have some social proof about my skills, that will lead to more work. Well, I guess that's a better reasoning. But I think we get overwhelmed with all of the noise telling us we've got to do this, we've got to do this, but we don't actually, it's not connected to, why we're doing our business. Why are we in business to start with?
Completely. And what I actually want to come back to as well is sometimes we feel overwhelmed because we lose a little bit of our own value system, our own identity. And actually in my business, I created like a list of values. And I first have my clients go through it and just like circle everything that kind of feels like good. And then like, like circling through it, right? There's like 50 values and they circle like whatever, 16. And I say, okay, good. Now let's go for 3. And I want that you reword each value in your own words. And then you need to tell me what your goal has in terms of these 3 values that you just chose. Why is it that you want to pursue this goal? And why does it make it high urgency, high priority, and tying into your top 3 values? And if you still at that point, you're like, yeah, it's important to me because I really create authenticity. And if you see me on a podcast, people can really get to know the real me. And all of a sudden it starts to make more sense. We have something. And then I'm like, all right, So show me the real me, right? Start creating little videos of yourself or start recording yourself on your cell phone. And all of a sudden there's like this, now I get it. It's a value because that's who I am and that's why I care about this. And I wouldn't want to leave the world without having done this thing. But otherwise you will never be motivated because you don't even know really like why now, why this is even a priority. And again, you could create like a little 2x2 chart, priority and urgency. What's high priority? What's high urgency? What's low priority? What's low priority? What's low urgency? And really sort all your projects into this. And you'll be surprised how many actually end up in the low urgency, low priority list. You can keep them there for as long as you like. Just write it all down to like a brain dump. And there will be few that really make it to that top, that star high priority, high urgency list. And those are the ones you got to tackle because there's feel like personal investment in those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned the ones that are in the low priority, low urgency. They can stay there for as long as possible. They tend to be the ones that we go to as what we think is the easy one to do first. And I think we probably overcomplicate it. Like, so you've got the high urgency or perhaps the high priority.
Yep.
And you mentioned that small step of, okay, yes, you want to start a podcast, but how about you just start recording something and getting your authenticity out there to start with?
Beautiful.
That's a much smaller step than starting a podcast, and I can say that definitely from an experience that recording a couple of videos and testing the waters there is a lot smaller step and manageable than going and creating a podcast.
Completely. And I also want to come back to, so you mentioned already in the introduction, the Petite Practice. It's petite, small, and it's practice because you've not done this before. So sometimes we're just scared and overwhelmed because we're learning something new. So at the end of the day, if you mess up and you think, oh my gosh, totally failed at that one, that video looks terrible, you still took the first step. So your first step doesn't mean like first success. It just means first step, and then you keep consistently at it. You're going to keep better and better. So nobody that started a podcast, launched a podcast that immediately was polished and beautiful and successful. In fact, audience, I started a podcast and I kind of felt good at the beginning. Nobody listened to it because I was like, well, at least not many people listen to this because I'm still practicing. So I kind of actually felt kind of good. I was like, to all those 3 people out there in the world that are listening to this right now, this is like my really mediocre audio quality recorded on my cell phone, not going with all, really, where's the microphone on my cell phone? Just speaking into my cell phone and then putting out there in the world. And I had like no feelings about it. I was just like, I'm starting a podcast and this is basically it. So kind of like just lower your expectations. Nobody's going to laugh about you. Nobody's going to judge you. That's just you being too hard on yourself. Nobody else will even think about it. So just start shrinking your goals down and get started.
I think we set those high expectations because we look at somebody's 1,000th effort and compare that to our first effort.
Of course.
But you're talking about those small steps there that actually just getting into the habit of it. Now, you've mentioned small, repeatable, and I think you've called it the Petite Practices method. Yeah. How does that help us in terms of actually achieving things, like creating the right actions to achieve our goals? But how does that help us as business owners protect our time, our energy, and just stay focused and really build that momentum?
Well, if you think about that in business, all what it really comes down to is like, there's even like a name for it. It's called the Parkinson's effect. We have an hour, we fill an hour. We have 10 minutes, we do get it done in 10 minutes. So like, I think it's like a vessel of time. And if you know that you have that much time, you're going to start filling the vessel. But if you make it a much smaller vessel, you're going to like hurry up a little bit more. So if you know that you have 10 minutes to work on a task, you're actually really going to sit down and you're going to do it. You're not in between going to scroll through social media or like, let me check on this over here. And didn't I have to do laundry right now? Right? It's not happening. because it's just 10 minutes of focused work. So you're taking a small bite of your very big goal by shrinking it down and breaking it down to this very doable petite practice step. And the good news is if you messed up, so be it. 10 minutes of your day, not a biggie. On the next day, you try again. So I always say if you fail, that was your first attempt in learning. So good that you got this down. But then think about this. Just imagine you wouldn't have taken a petite step. You would have spent a whole day on this and then you would have failed. And you're like, well, there goes that day, right? I mean, could have done other things. Don't worry about it. In general, it's always small because if you fail and you mess up, it allows you to pick it back up on the next day and not repeat the same mistake again, right? I mean, that's really what Albert Einstein said. It's like insanity to keep repeating the wrong thing over and over again. You always want to think like Pareto principle, like the small 20% that you do maybe in those, 10 or 15 minutes, whatever you do might create later on like 80% of really where your business is going to grow because you're so effective and consistent in taking the petite practices that you become really clear in where your energy really goes instead of just wasting it on big tasks.
So I think you're explaining that the big task is often what's preventing us from starting in the first place, but also takes more energy. But the other disadvantage of a big task is if you fail at a big task, you've consumed a lot of your resources and time. And like when you fail at a big task, you feel pretty deflated in terms of your energy and how your I guess how good you feel about yourself. But if you fail at a small task, it's very easy to just, okay, let's scrap that. 10 minutes wasted. No, 10 minutes of learning. Let's try that again or try it differently. But we haven't lost a lot of time. And I struggle. No, I don't struggle with this, but my kidults, my children at home really struggle with this whole idea. They say, no, I don't have time to do that. And I said, okay, it's 10 minutes. You can do a lot in 10 minutes. And they don't have time. An athlete can run 100 meters in 10 seconds. You can do a lot in 10 seconds. You can do a lot in 10 minutes. But I guess we sort of focus that we have to do something big and we need to consume a lot of time. But these petite, not small, petite steps, when you give yourself permission there, and I think that was one of the things I was thinking of, often we don't give ourselves permission to do those small steps and also permission to fail. So is that something that you've seen when you've been working with the business owners and in your roles?
All the time. I have whatever weekly calls and then, I write down the goals and all right, let's talk to you next week. And then like next week comes around and I'm like, all right, so did you do that one thing? Oh no, I just like so busy and then got this and got that. And I think the week got away. Right. And so I might repeat that thing like over and over again. And I feel like a little bit like, like a dog coming with a leash, like, did you actually do this? And then they are like, nah, I don't have time. And I like, okay, I get it. So at the end of the day, I say, guess what? All of us have 24 hours. Nobody has more, nobody has less. And I'm actually going to challenge you, audience. And again, be safe. Don't get your notepads out. But if you do have a notepad right now, you could even write down, stop managing your time. Yes. So the whole time management thing is a little bit like a misnomer. Because if you think about it, nobody can really manage it because time is just time, right? It just goes by 24/7, a week, a year, a month. It all just goes by. So the way that you need to think about it, it's more like choice, right? You are the consumer. You can tell I have a PhD in economics. You're the consumer. You choose what you want to do. And it's a luxury to have 24 hours. So if you think about this, there's like 24 little boxes. How you want to fill those boxes or how you want to place them in your day, that's completely your choice. And you need to think a little bit about it. There's sometimes maybe less choice if you work somewhere and you have to be there, like maybe 8 boxes go into your workplace, but then you have a lot of other boxes too. And then within those boxes, maybe you can, be a little bit more customizable. So like think IKEA, right? How you build this is maybe the IKEA manual, but then we actually put it in your house totally your choice. Living room, bedroom, hallway. Like here, we're like becoming like a little bit creative. So you need to think a little bit, like, even though we all have work, we all have to sleep, we all have to do whatever task, household chores, what you do within those, that's your choice. And I'm actually doing a little experiment right now, Paul, to where I'm tracking my time with like a little time tracking thing called Toggle. And it keeps tasks. It has a timer. And so it keeps track of what you're doing. And I'm not doing it for the fact that I don't think I'm a very good time manager. I'm more doing it for the fact that I'm like, want to learn a little bit more about where can use maybe AI more efficiently. What are some of those tasks that I keep doing over and over again that I can maybe outsource to like an AI or an assistant? Because there will be some things that I'm like, spend a lot of time on this. And I don't think that that's necessarily on the high priority, high urgency list. So let's maybe figure out who can do this for me. That's why I'm doing it. Right? I'm an economist deep down. I'm like, what can we do here? This is not good right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that whole idea of a stop doing list, or identifying what you need to stop doing. And we become, I guess, very habitual about some of the things we do without actually thinking, why am I doing this? Or hang on, should I be doing this? So if we actually stop doing a lot of the things on our list because we're not the right person, or they just don't need to be done at all, we can free up a lot of that time, get rid of a lot of that anxiety, which is, it's refreshing, but we don't want to let go of some of those things. We don't want to let go. They're what gives us, well, I won't say comfort and I won't say joy, but we can't let go of them because we think we've still got to be doing things. Is letting go, how big a barrier is it?
Oh, it's terrible. It actually is so funny when you just said that, because I have blonde hair, audience, if you're watching the video right now, and it's actually quite long. So like if you ever watched the movie Frozen, right? She has like the blonde hair. It's my go-to Halloween costume in the United States, to dress myself up as Elsa from Frozen. So I always tell like my clients, like, you just have to let it go. Like Elsa, let it go, let it go. You just have to let it go. You can even do like the hand movement. And that's tricky, because let's just pick like the famous one, social media. Maybe you're posting on social media and you honestly think that, let's just say you have like a daily cadence of posting on social media, and all of a sudden you look at your toggle or your time tracker and you realize, man, that's a lot of time I spent on posting on social media. And that's just posting on social media, uploading, writing captions, maybe commenting, responding, blah, 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 the whole thing, right? And all of a sudden, instead of a daily cadence, you change it to, I suggest changing it to a weekly cadence, just once per week. And people are like, well, they're going to miss me. And then I'm going to say, I have some bad news. They're actually really not going to miss you. Nobody like, she's not posting daily anymore. My day is not complete anymore. Nobody will be like that. I mean, they love you, but they're not going to be like, gosh, what's going on there? Nobody will be. And sometimes I even see people that send me like an apology email in the summer where they say, all right, so for the next month, I'm going to take off social media. It's like, you know what? You do you. I mean, you don't have to apologize for not posting on social media. This is social media because you want to be social. If you don't want to be social, then don't tell me that you don't want to be social, because that's just your choice. Coming back again, it's your choice where you spend the time. You don't owe us an apology unless it's like, you're closing down your business and we all rely on this. That makes more sense. But if you just post to announce things, to keep us updated about your business life, that's all right. Nobody will miss you. It's like, you spoke earlier about the children, but sometimes when I dropped off my children at childcare and I came back in the evening, I was like, did you miss me? And I was like, why are you even asking this? I'm hoping they're going to say, yes, I did miss you all day. And it's like, no, I had lots of fun with my friends. It's like, that's what it is. You just have lots of fun with all the other millions of social media accounts out there. It's the same thing, right? So don't take it personal. But you have to do something with that time that you created by a weekly cadence on social media posting. You have to be really honest with yourself. I freed up that time. Is that time going towards a higher priority, higher urgency task where I'm actually seeing it moves the needle in my business? Because maybe social media was great, but the weekly cadence is going to be just sufficient. Mm-hmm.
I like the way you've sort of highlighted that, nobody really is going to miss us. Like that 6 second of interaction with you each day. It's not building a relationship. But look, I just want to drill down a bit more, because you talked about being clear about what's important. When we do get that clarity, how does that make it easier for us to focus on the really important tasks?
That's a brilliant question. Sometimes we get asked by people and we feel we're not ready for it yet. Or sometimes we don't even have our ears open for opportunities because we are so overwhelmed that we are just in our own world, like completely putting the blinders on, and we don't even see opportunities where there are opportunities. I think there's some kind of story that talks about like somebody in a boat and people like throwing like different, like, different devices to get that person like out from the open ocean. It's the same thing. Once you gain clarity, all of a sudden you're going to see opportunities that were probably always there, but because you were so overwhelmed and felt like you're constantly drowning, maybe even complaining about it and venting to your friends, that you didn't even see it. And the good thing is, once you gain clarity, you can start talking about it too, right? Like, I remember exactly. I was like telling my husband, I want to be a TEDx speaker. And the first thing that my husband said was, oh, I didn't even know. And I was like, what? You've been married for 20-something years. You should know. And then I was like, well, I guess I never told him. In all fairness, he doesn't know. So I thought, can you not read my mind? No, you still cannot do that. Okay, good. So I have to communicate that starting in my own family home. I want to be a TEDx speaker. And then say it over and over again. Like meet somebody at the coffee shop, right? And you start chatting a little bit and they're like, oh, so what do you do currently? And like, oh yeah, I decided I'm a TEDx speaker. And so currently I'm kind of like looking around for good topics or whatever you have to weave this into your day-to-day life, because guess what? The more you communicate this, the clearer you become with it yourself, because you repeat your goal. So it's nearly like you're manifesting it. But at the same time, there will be all these people out there that will be connecting you to the next little step that you can take. So the more you gain clarity, the more you communicate it. So it's like the clarity, the communication, the more you will build your community of people that will be ultimately your cheerleaders, right? So think like, clarity, communicate, community, cheerleaders. It's really like sometimes we are so hard on ourselves in reaching our goals. You're like, oh, I have to do this all by myself. But in reality, it's because you don't let anybody know what your goals actually are. And once you do, you'll be surprised how many people out there are ready to help you and lift you up and get you closer to your goal. And that's, I think, really when we gain that clarity, that you can condense it into a sentence and say it and share it and feel ready for it. That is really when the momentum starts to happen. So your petite practices will really then build momentum and will get you closer and closer every single day.
I'm really grateful that you've mentioned that, and that whole idea about accountability. Like, us husbands get accused of many things, and not being able to read minds is one that we're often accused of. But the fact that, until you actually mentioned it, until you actually said, I want to be a TEDx speaker, he didn't know.
No.
And it's like, I'm struggling. Well, I'm not struggling with it. I just haven't communicated it very well. So one of my projects has been developing the method I've been using to help clients plan, strategize, grow their business, the planning process. We've been putting that into a saleable course. And one of my children who's doing medical research has criticized me and said, hey, you talk about this, but how can a solo person get accountability? And I was thinking about it, and I immediately went to like business chambers and groups and networking. But the way that you describe that accountability and that communication becoming your cheerleader by just talking to people and telling them, this is what I'm going to do. As soon as I start to tell somebody I'm going to do it, next time I speak to them, they say, how did you go with that? Did you actually do it? And there's that motivation for me. So I love the way that you've mentioned that we can get that communication, builds that accountability, but also builds that cheer squad to help you push through and actually achieve those goals. So thank you for making that so simple.
Oh, you're welcome. And then keep in mind that it's your goal, and the communication of the goal, what I sometimes see with clients, is initially the hardest when you say it out loud to yourself, right? Because we feel like, oh my gosh, we can't even share it because it's so big. And you might have never thought of me as being a TEDx speaker. You'll be like, you? Right? So by communicating it, you kind of gain clarity about yourself, but you also gain clarity about who's actually in your cheer squad. There's people that, I honestly I'm a fitness instructor, right? And so sometimes, I have people, that talk to me about like becoming a fitness instructor or anything like that. And then I tell them, I'm a fitness instructor, but I work full time as a professor. So I want to help you become a fitness instructor, but I have to run because I have to teach my classes. And they're like, you are a professor? And they look at me and I'm like, I am. Guess what? Right? And it's so amazing and so important that you actually like figure out, all right, are these people going to be on my team, or do they only see me in this very narrow picture of like, she's a person that stands on the stage and motivates me to do bicep curls? And if they do, then they need to get to know the real me, right? It's like, yeah, I also do this and I do that. So it's sometimes important that you share with people, this is really the goal that I have in my life. And this is really something that's important to me because it connects directly to my role in the classroom, to being a keynote speaker, to being an author or something. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, like I thought you're just teaching workout classes all day. It's like, yeah, no, I love that. I just educated you right there. And then if you at that point get the feeling that, they're like, oh, I don't know about this, that's great too. So you got clarity about, like what people really think of you or what they, how they want to be associated with you. And that makes a really good clarity gain there too, because you want to build your network of people that are like you. So you're feeling this is like, somebody I want to share with, and they're waiting for news and they're going to cheer me on all along the way.
Yeah. I've been really excited by some of the things we've covered today and how you've broken down how we've overcomplicated so much. We need to get back to those really small, simple steps, those simple actions, as simple as stepping onto the bus. Yep. That first step, actually getting started, getting that momentum. I love the way that you've captured about how we can get the momentum, build that accountability, the communication, and who's on your team, who's not, because stick to the ones who are on your team. I love that. But there's so much there. And now your podcast, I love the title of it, The Happy, Healthy Hustle. Mm-hmm. Most business owners I see have forgotten about the happy and healthy bit of their hustle. From just that talking with you today, we have a whole wealth of information, help, and experience that you're sharing on that. So I encourage people to go and check out the Happy Healthy Hustle podcast. We'll put links in the show notes and also on the businessbeyondyourbusiness.com website for you to check out, as well as some of the key things and also how you can get in contact with Dr. Christiane, because we've only really just scratched the surface of this conversation and some of the huge benefits that you can get by just simplifying, getting clear, being focused. I think really you need to take the next step. First step is probably go back and re-listen, find out some of these key points, and then get started. But look, Dr. Christiane, if there was one place that our listeners should start, one thing they must do to get started on this process, what would that be?
Oh, quite honestly, I want to encourage you, check out my YouTube channel too, because it is super fun. There are these really cute videos that we post with regard to guests that I've had on my podcast, but also solo videos. We really create some good takeaways. And check out my books on Amazon. The one goal is, How to Master Your Goals. That's my very first best-selling book. And then we have Discover Your Superpower and the Step Into Your Voice book that really helps you become more clear with who you are and who you uniquely should be in this world. Because we're all different. And our superpowers and our voices are all different. And so those books will maybe help you out and gain more clarity all along the way.
That's fantastic. So much value, so many great resources to check out. So they'll all be listed in the show notes. You don't have to try and memorize them as you're driving or running, but make sure that you do take that action. Get some clarity about what's really important. Make choices about where you're going to start. Simplify it. Do the small things. Make time. And I think the end result will be you'll have the happy and healthy part of the hustle that's been missing for so long. Dr. Christiane, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. I think this is just the beginning of the journey for many business owners, the journey towards that freedom, that clarity. Thank you for sharing with us today. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And audience, reach out. If you have any follow-up questions, I would love to hear from you as always. And of course, like the video, share it with your friends, invite more people to listen to this amazing podcast. Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Business Behind Your Business. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and valuable for your business journey. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with fellow business owners who could benefit, and send in your burning questions because we love hearing from you. Missed any of our previous episodes or looking for additional resources to help grow your business? Head over to our website at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. There you'll find our full archive of past episodes along with show notes, transcripts, and links to valuable resources mentioned in each episode. Your journey to business success continues at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep building the business of your dreams.